Hi everyone, thank you for joining, thank you for watching. So I just decided to create a new blog post about how to flow with big changes in our lives, as I feel this whole year 2020 is about such big changes, and I think there's more to come. So how can we move through the big changes? Yeah, how can you support yourself? And as you might have heard, the year 2020 is said to be the year of the Great Awakening. So a year of awakening on a collective level. So what does that mean? So I think in the last few months, we've all really experienced a lot of changes going on internally. So I certainly feel I have changed in many ways. External circumstances, everything that is going on in the world, you might have been affected in your work or in other aspects of your life. So there's a lot of change at the moment going on. But the question is that actually sometimes this change is what shakes us up out of our sleep and wakes us up. So actually sometimes this change is exactly what is needed. And I know many of you are on your spiritual path already for some time. So I also want to speak a little bit about the qualities of the spiritual awakening. The spiritual awakening, in the way I have experienced and what I've heard and read about, is often connected with a time of a big crisis. So there's some kind of big crisis that we experience on a personal level that really shakes us up. It's like a moment when life is never the same again. And it's often very painful, it's often very difficult, and it really wakes us up to what matters in life. What do I want to spend my time and energy with? And most importantly, it teaches us that we actually don't really have control. Even though we often try to kind of pretend, to be honest, I want to say we often try to pretend that we can keep everything safe, that we can keep everything in control, that we can get all the insurances and do all the things right. But as we all know, in life there are no guarantees, and everything might change at any moment. This is an uncomfortable thought, but actually I feel, and also as yogis and on the spiritual path, the more comfortable we can become with change, the easier we can flow through life. Because actually the only thing that is consistent in life is continuous change. So life is all about change, and life is all about evolution and expansion, but expansion on the level of our soul, so on a deeper level. So sometimes the change might come in this form, might be more difficult to process, might feel like a big loss, might feel like it's really not what we want. But from a spiritual perspective, we don't always get what we want, but we get what we need. So the experience is often something that kind of wakes us up to an important truth that we need to understand. And it also helps us to let go of control. So when we think we have everything figured out, it actually helps us to see maybe I'm not really the one who is calling the shots. Maybe I don't actually have everything sorted and in control. And then we start to consider that there might be, a higher power. I look up, but actually for me this higher power is all around us. It's life, it's the intelligence of life. And we are part of it, and we are co-creating it. But only when we are actually in tune with this bigger intelligence, and when we allow ourselves to be guided from it, then our life can really start to change. But in the time before, it is often quite a painful process, often also called the dark night of the soul, where we might go through a period of darkness, of depression, and of big struggle. And then slowly the conscious awakening starts to happen. And it is generally like this. So you can imagine you have grown up somewhere in complete darkness. So everything was always complete dark. You have never seen the people around you. You have never seen your environment. So this is all you know. And this is how you've lived your life forever. And then at some point, slowly, there's this experience like a dawning. So it becomes a little bit lighter, like the time of the sunrise. And for the first time, you can be like, wow, actually I can see some outlines. I can see I can see, oh, there's like people, there's these shapes around me, there's this kind of fogginess. So you start to kind of understand, wow, there's this whole environment. And then this process continues and it starts to get lighter and lighter. At some point, you might start to see colors and you're like, wow, there's all these colors. That's amazing. You start to see the shapes more clearly until at some point you can see more clearly your environment and the people around you. So just imagine what a big transition this would be. So for me, this is what happens in the time of our conscious awakening. So we wake up and we start to see things clearly. And this is what I mean when I talk about living more consciously. So when we are living unconsciously, we are like in the darkness. We don't know why we do things. We just run on autopilot. We just run old habits. We don't really think about consequences of what we do. We don't want to take responsibility. We just live our lives on autopilot. But at some point when we start going through this awakening, we start to realize that actually our actions have consequences. And also we have a choice how we can show up. So we start to maybe reprogram old patterns. We start to have a choice how we want to engage with other people, which values are important in our life. And this is when we have a conscious choice. And the thing is, when we start to awaken, there's no way of going back. So once you can see, you cannot go back to being in this blindness again. You cannot go back to sleep. So it's sometimes quite a challenging transition, because sometimes it feels like ignorance is bliss. Like once you start to become more conscious, you actually really feel the need to live more responsibly, live more clearly. So this is a quite a profound process that we're going through in this time of the spiritual awakening. And what I've noted is often it can feel also very disorienting, and it can also feel very lonely because maybe the people in your life don't understand, and you suddenly feel a bit like on the sideline, or like someone who is a little bit weird or different, and you suddenly don't have the same interests or values like people around you. So there's a time that can be quite challenging. And so as I also write in the post, for me it's very important in this time to find community and to actually connect and find like-minded people where we can then feel actually we can share what's going on, we feel they get us, and we support each other. This is a very important aspect in many spiritual practices, to have the spiritual community. In yoga this is called Sangha, and we actually encourage each other, we support each other on the spiritual path. So this is very, very helpful. Yeah, but I've written in the blog as well some things you can do to really help to support yourself in this time, and I hope you find this helpful. And I just think it's very important in this time to navigate as much as we can consciously. If you're going through a very turbulent time, which you're probably really, for most of us, experiencing this kind of intensity at the moment, just really look after yourself, and coming with this mindset that every crisis is really an opportunity. And probably this whole year 2020 is giving us a huge opportunity to become more conscious, to become more awake, and to actually start creating a better life and a better world for all of us. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some inspiration. And yeah, if you haven't already, please sign up to my newsletter. Please leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, just stay in touch. Sending you lots of love. Thank you.